Hey everyone, I'm Rob Franek. I'm editor-in-chief here at the Princeton, back in my New York City apartment after a couple of months in quarantine in Safe Harbor with my mom in northern New Jersey. We are still self-isolating here in New York City, but with a slightly different background. But as always, we are here with our daily updates on COVID-19 and its repercussion on education. Now, if you've been following this series over the last month or so, you'll know that we posted a video of how some students were having trouble submitting their AP exams. And we heard from quite a few of you about technical issues that you were experiencing on those very same AP exams. And then we posted another segment about how, starting in the second week of testing for those AP tests, the College Board was then allowing students to email their answers to a unique email address provided to each test taker in the event that technical difficulties prevented submission through the regular route. But what about all of those students who weren't able to submit their answers, which were completed and completed on time during that first week of testing? Now, you've probably seen the same videos that we've had here at the Princeton Review of very frustrated students clicking on the submit button in vain, and read lots of tweets of very stressed out students who thought they'd successfully completed their exam only to receive an email later on saying that their file was corrupted and that they need to sit for a full makeup exam in June. Folks, each of these is indeed a crushing blow, but we need to talk about just how many students were actually affected by this. Now, according to the College Board, 2,186,000 AP exams were given during that first week, and that's May 11th through May 15th, and less than 1% of students were unable to submit their responses according to the College Board. But we should do some quick math here. 1% of 2,186,000 is a cool 21,086. But truthfully, we don't know how many tests were affected, only how many students. Now, in 2019, just for some perspective, students took on average just shy of 2 AP exams each. And in fact, nearly half of all students who took AP exams in 2019 took between 2 and 5 of those exams that year. Now, we don't yet have information about how many makeup exams students will need to re-prep for and ultimately retake during that first week in June due to those technical difficulties during the first week of AP testing in May. We only have the numbers of how many students were affected. And even those numbers, honestly, aren't clearly defined. When the College Board says 2,186,000 AP exams were given, does that number include all attempts at taking the exams, even where students were unable to submit any answers at all? We expected it would. We'd like to think so, but we simply can't confirm it. And that number raises other questions as well. What about students who had an upload that was corrupted or a wrong file format? What about students who had their responses canceled because they used a device that wasn't something that the College Board expected? Folks, all this leads up to the obvious question: how are these students counted? That 2,186,000 number of that 99% success rate. Friends, one of the biggest causes, the biggest culprits causing the technical difficulties that the College Board identified was having a browser that wasn't updated. But as we've discussed, that's not the only thing. There are many others there are many other things that contributed to it. The truth is that if you are having to make up an exam due to technical difficulties, and if that doesn't feel fair to you, you're not the only one. A class action lawsuit was recently filed on behalf of students who took those AP exams and weren't able to submit their answers for grading. Now, the suit has two clear demands. First, that the College Board actually score those time-stamped answers from that initial week of AP testing rather than simply moving those students into the retest test dates in June. The second demand: the College Board needs to pay a compensatory damages of more than $500 million as well as punitive damages. Now, the suit was filed by parents of students who were unable to submit those answers, as well as an organization called the National Center of Fair and Open Testing, more commonly referred to as Fair Test. And we're including a link to the suit in the description right here on YouTube so that you could read it in full yourself. But folks, we need to shift focus and we need to address the critics of those shortened and at-home AP exams, as they have been quick to point out that the College Board has a financial incentive to administer those AP exams this spring in May and June, which cost, the individual costs for each of those administrations of the AP are $94 each for US students and Canadian students, and $124 elsewhere. But couple that with the AP seminar and the AP research exams, which cost $142 each. But the College Board also points out that the organization itself surveyed students nationwide, and an overwhelming 91% reported a desire to take the AP exams at the end of their course this spring. So the College Board redesigned the AP exams to accommodate those students' wishes. But which of these is actually true? Honestly, friends, they're likely both true. The AP exam does generate a lot of revenue for the College Board, and they do serve important purposes for students both in high school as well as college. And folks, given these COVID-19 times, now more than ever, students need ways to stand out during the admission process and to save money on college. Not to mention the fact that some high schools either require or request that students in AP courses actually sit for those AP exams. And AP exams could and often do, folks, serve multiple purposes. But let's answer the big question that's likely in your heads. What does this mean if you were one of those unlucky students whose exams didn't get successfully submitted during that first week of testing? Now, unfortunately for you, it means that you're going to need to brush up on that material again. Don't count on this lawsuit to have an impact in time to prevent you from needing to retake those exams that weren't accepted. I'm sorry to be the bearer of this information. Our heart at the Princeton Review goes out to each one of you who faces the prospect of retaking an exam that you already prepped for and you already sat for. It is definitely not fair. But here's a vote of confidence. Folks, you can overcome this challenge. And maybe, just maybe, having had that AP experience already will make you that much more prepared to ace and be superlative test takers on that exam the second time around. And of course, you should know that should you experience any technical difficulties during that makeup exam, you'll be able to avail yourself of that now in place, fully in place option to submit your answers via email, specifically through that unique email address that the College Board will provide students. Friends, please know that we are following this story very closely at the Princeton Review. We'll of course be reporting out this information as we receive new updates. As always, folks, Rob Franek, Editor-in-Chief here at the Princeton Review. Take care, be well, and I'll be back with you again tomorrow.